Hi everyone. So in this lecture we will see relational model constraints. What is meant by constraint? Constraint means like it is a rule or set of rules which we are applying on the valid values or the informations which are stored in the database. Okay, constraints mean certain rules we are applying on the values or the valid data which is there in your database. Now we'll see the different types of constraints in the relational model. We have three different categories of constraints. Okay, the constraints on database can be generally divided into three categories. The first one is inherent model based or implicit constraint. Inherent model based or implicit constraint. Then schema based or explicit constraint. Then comes application based or semantic constraint or business rules. Inherent model based or implicit constraints means these are inherent to the data model. For example, if I say the two tuples in the data relation must not be identical. Okay, two different tuples must not be identical. So these kind of rules which are already implicit in the database definition or the schema definition. So those are called inherent model based or implicit constraints. Now the next comes schema based or explicit constraints. These are directly expressed in the schemas of the data model. That means when you are defining some or when you are defining the database or when you are creating the database using the data definition language statements. So in those statements you can explicitly tell what are the constraints. Okay, so you are specifying in the data definition language commands or the statements. So those are called schema based or explicit constraints. The next one is application based or semantic constraint. So here certain constraints you cannot specify in the DDL commands. For example, in the previous lectures I said you want to insert the values for employees, like the salary of the employee must not be greater than his supervisor. Okay, salary of employee should not be greater than the supervisor's salary. So in that case, how you are going to say or how you are going to put this constraint in the database? So that will be done using some user defined rules, or you have to specify in the application program itself. You can use the triggers or assertions kind of things. So using that you have to express the conditions on the valid data set. Okay, so these are called application based or semantic constraints. Okay, that cannot be directly expressed in the schema. That means you cannot write or you cannot put those constraints along with the DDL commands. Okay, so it can be written or it can be put in the application program. Now we'll see only the explicit constraint or schema based constraints. There are domain constraints, key constraints, then entity integrity constraints and referential integrity constraints. So these are the schema based constraints. What is domain constraint? So this constraint specifies that within each tuple, the value of each attribute must be an atomic value from the domain, from its domain. Okay, so what is domain? Actually it is a permitted values for that attribute, the set of permitted values for that attribute. Okay, so in each tuple means you will be having a number of attribute values, right? It's a collection of values of different attributes. Now how you will assign the value to these attributes? You have to take the value from the permitted set of values for that attribute. Okay, so that is nothing but domain. From domain you have to take some value and you have to assign. Now this domain will have only the atomic value. Okay, so each value stored in your relation must be an atomic value and which is taken from its own domain. Okay, and the data types associated with the domains typically include the standard data types like integers, real numbers, characters, like that. Okay, so from there you have to take the values. Now here you see the example. We have mentioned the employee ID. It is an integer type value. Okay, employee ID will take the integer type value and it will take only 3 digits. The maximum length must be 3 digits. Now what happens if you try to enter a new row or the tuple with the value 5 digits for employee ID, that is 11167. So it is having 5 digits. So in that case it is not matching with the domain of employee ID attribute. Okay, so in this case it will reject the insertion. So what is actually domain constraint? So in the tuple you must have the values for each attribute. It must be atomic and it must be taken from its own domain. Atomic means it cannot be divisible. Okay, all the values which we are storing, those are simple values. We cannot store composite attribute in table. Okay, so every value must be an atomic value. Then we'll see the key constraints and constraints on null values. A relation, it's a set of tuples, right? It is a set of tuples. Now, how you will identify the individual tuple in the relation? How to identify? At the beginning, I said, okay, so you'll be having some sequential number or the ID assigned to each tuple, right? But in general, we will use certain attributes which will have a uniqueness. Okay. Here it says key constraint says no two tuples may have the same combination of values in their attributes. Okay, no two tuples may have the same combination of values in their attributes. What it says, like you cannot have the same combination of values, that means the data should not be repeated in the relation. See here, 111 Govind 20,000 and department number is 1. So this information is already there. Now suppose you want to insert the same tuple, the same information, then it will put a redundancy or it will add redundancy in the table, right? One of the main advantage of database system is what? It will reduce the redundancy. There won't be any redundancy. It will avoid the redundancy, right? It will avoid the duplication of the data. So that means in two different tuples, the combination of the attribute values must not be same or it should not be identical. I cannot have the same information stored again in the database. Okay, so if I take the combination of all the attributes, that means at least by one attribute it must differ. I can have like the Govind 20,001, those information can be repeated, but employee ID can be different. That indicates there is one more employee with same name as Govind in the same department. Okay, but at least by one attribute it differs. Understood? So key constraint says no two tuples may have the same combination of values in their attributes, so that I can identify the individual tuples in the relation. Now there are different types of keys we have in the relational model. The first one is super key. It is a subset of attributes where any two distinct tuples, say T1 and T2, in relation states R, have the constraint that T1 of Sk should not be equal to T2 of Sk. What that indicates? So if you have the super key means in two different tuples, if I take two different tuples, then the corresponding value must not be same. Okay, so Sk is a subset of attributes, and if I take two different tuples, in those tuples I should not get the same combination of those attributes. Okay, same combination of values for those attributes. Now say here I have employee ID in this table. Whether employee ID is same in any two different tuples, in each tuple it is different, correct? So I can consider employee ID as the super key. It is not repeating. And if I take employee PAN number is also distinct. Employee passport, it is also distinct. Now here, one more thing here, I have taken null values, right? So only 4 records are there. According to this relation state, it is correct. Suppose you have one more employee who doesn't have passport. Okay, who doesn't have passport, then what you will store? You will store the null value for that tuple, correct? For that employee, you will put null value for the passport field. Now, you saying that passport, can I get the unique tuple in that case? It is not possible because two different tuples are having null values for passport. In that case, I can't consider passport as the super key. But here, but if I consider only these 4 tuples in the relation state, then I can take employee PAN and employee passport as super key. And then, as I said, it is a combination of attributes, right? Super key can have more than one attributes. Now, if I combine like employee name with employee ID, whether it can be a super key, you just check with this. I have 111 and Govind, okay? And in the second tuple, I have 112 and Adarsh. So this information is not repeating in any of the tuple, right? All these are distinct, like the combination is distinct. That's why it can also be considered as super key. Suppose you assume here I have 115 and Govind. Okay, 115 and Govind. In that case, whether employee ID along with employee name can be a super key. Yes, because here I have 111 and Govind, and in another tuple I will have 115 and Govind. That combination is having the different value for employee ID. At least by one attribute it is differing, right? Then I can take employee ID and employee name as the super key. Okay, so if you have an attribute which is having a distinct values for each tuple, then I can add any attribute to this and that combination will become a super key. That means employee ID is having all distinct values. So I can take employee ID with employee name as a super key, or employee ID, employee name, employee PAN number as a super key, employee ID, employee name, employee PAN and employee passport. So these 4 attribute together can be a super key. Okay, so you can have many number of super keys in the relation, but you have to see for that combination you should not get the same values for two different tuples. Okay, that is the condition for the super key. There can be any number of super keys. Like there may be like maximum you can take the what all the combinations, like one set with one attribute, with two attribute, with 3 and 4, like that you can form a super keys here. Now the next thing is key. Key will be called as a minimal super key. Okay, key is called as minimal super key. It is also a super key, but what is special in key compared to super key? A key of a relation schema R is a super key of R with the additional property that removing any attribute A from K leaves set of attributes K dash that is not a super key of R anymore. Now what this says, like this definition, here I have a super key. If I remove one of the attribute from that super key, then it will no longer remains as a super key. Okay, then it will be called as key. Okay, so it's a minimal super key. I cannot remove any of the attribute from that. If I take the example here, employee ID, employee name, whether it is a minimal super key. How to check? For example, if I remove employee ID from this, okay, so I have employee ID and employee name together as a super key. Now, if I remove employee ID, then what happens? Only employee name is there. So using employee name I can't identify. But suppose if I remove employee name from this, instead of removing employee ID, if I remove employee name, then what happens? I will get only employee ID. Correct? I'll get only employee ID. That means using employee ID I can identify the unique tuples in the relation. So that means this is not a minimal set. This is not a minimal super key. So even though if I remove this, but still I can identify the unique tuples. Okay, so in this case SK4 is not a minimal super key, so I will not consider it as a key. Then if I take employee ID, employee name, employee PAN number. So here if I remove employee PAN number, whether this will have a super key property? Yes. Okay, so minimal super key means if I remove, then it should not able to identify the uniqueness. Okay, but in this case if I remove employee PAN number, but still I can identify the unique tuples in the relation. That's why SK6 is also not a key, but it is a super key. Then SK5. SK5 we have employee ID and employee PAN number. Okay, here I said employee PAN for this relation state. I am using employee PAN as the super key. So if I remove any one of them, still I can identify the unique tuples. That means it is also not a minimal super key. So which are the keys here? So SK1, SK2 and SK3. These three are the keys. Okay. Again you can have more than one key in the relation. Now two more are there, like candidate key and primary key. A relation schema may have more than one key. As I said here, three keys are there: employee ID, PAN and passport. Okay. So now these three keys will be called as, like in each key will be called as candidate key. Okay, so a relation schema may have more than one key and each of these keys is called as candidate. Okay, here employee ID is one candidate key, then employee PAN number is another candidate, and employee passport is one more candidate. Okay, so you can have more than one key in the relation schema and each key will be called as candidate key. And now in the application program, when you are developing application, then you have to use one of the key as primary key. That means I'll not use all these to identify the uniqueness. I'll select any one of the attribute and that attribute will be made as primary key. That means using that I will identify the individual tuple in the relation. Okay, so here three candidates are there. So what I will do is employee PAN, if I take, I am allowing null values, right? So it is not a good choice. And similarly employee passport. Employee passport is also like it is also having null values, so this is not the best choice. So what I'll do, I'll take employee ID to identify the unique or the individual tuples in the relation. Okay, I will take employee ID to identify the individual tuples in the relation. So now for this relation schema, employee ID will be called as primary key. Okay, so employee ID is the primary key of this relation schema. And in ER diagram, you will represent primary key by underlining the attribute. Okay, so super key means it is like combination of attributes for which if I take two distinct tuples, the combination of values will be differing, or it must differ by at least one attribute value. And then key means it is a minimal super key. That means from the super key, if I remove any of the attribute, it will lose the super key property. Okay, then that will be called as a minimal super key, and those are nothing but the keys in the relation schema. And you can have more than one key in the relation schema, and each one of the key will be called as candidate. And from the candidate, you will select one of the key to identify the individual tuples in the relation schema. That will be termed as primary key of the relation schema. Okay. Now, based on these different constraints, now how we can define the relational database and relational database schema. So, relational database schema is a set of relational schemas, okay, relational schemas, and a set of integrity constraints. Relational database schema is a set of relational schemas. Here, database means what? It will have a collection of different tables or the relations. Okay, so that's why relational database schema means it will have a multiple relational schemas, set of relational schemas, and the constraints on that set. Okay, like what all the constraints you have applied. So those constraints and the set of relational schemas together will be called as relational database schema. Okay, database means it's a collection of different tables or different like schemas related to different entity types. Okay, and then relational database state. Now what is state here? We have seen relational schema and what is relation we have seen. But here relational database state they are telling. A relational database state, yes, is a set of relation states. Like for each different schemas we have a state. Okay, if I have R1 as one schema, R2 is another schema. Now what is the relation state of R1? So I'll represent with small r1, the like current state of that relational schema. Okay, so I will take the relational state of each and every schemas present in the database. Okay, and in this those states must satisfy the integrity constraints. Okay, so that will be called as relational database state. See, relational database means you will be having multiple relational schemas, different schemas you will be there, and certain constraints whatever you have specified that will be there. And relational database state means for each individual schema you have to see what is the state of those relational schemas and whether it satisfies the constraints. Okay, if it, relational states which satisfies the integrity constraints, so that will be considered as relational database state. Then a database state that does not obey all the integrity constraints is called as invalid state. If the database state, that means the schemas which are there and the state of each schema, if it satisfies the constraints, integrity constraints, then it will be valid. If it does not satisfy the constraints, then it will be called as invalid state. Now we'll see the entity integrity constraint. The entity integrity constraint states that no primary key can be null. Okay, no primary key can be null. So because why we are saying like this? Because using primary key, I am identifying the individual tuples in the relation, correct? So if it is having null value, like more than one tuple can also have null value. So I cannot use that attribute to identify the uniqueness of tuples. As I said, employee PAN number or employee passport. All employees may not have PAN number or the passport. Then we'll keep null values. Now, how you will identify the individual tuples using employee PAN or employee passport? So it is not possible. That's why it says no primary key can be null. Okay, if it is having null means I cannot able to identify the individual tuples. Now, we'll see the example here. I have the employee table or the relation schema. So here I have three different tuples and I have taken employee ID as the primary key. Okay. So according to this, what it says, employee ID cannot be null because it's a primary key. Okay, so if you try to enter null for employee ID, it will violate the entity integrity constraint. Okay, it is not obeying the entity integrity. So in your application or in your database, suppose you while creating the table employee, if you have specified employee ID must be a primary key and you are trying to insert the values like this, like for employee ID null and name Atish and employee salary 15,000 and department number 2. In that case, it will not allow you to insert the values. So this statement will fail. And similarly, the above, here I am again using 111. See, what is primary key? Primary key means it must have a distinct values for each tuples. Okay, so 111 is already there, 111 is already there. So in that case, I cannot insert this particular instance. So again, the insert statement will fail. Now the next is referential integrity constraint. The referential integrity constraint, it is specified between two different relations. Okay, between two relations it is specified and it is used to maintain the consistency among the tuples. Okay, it is used to maintain the consistency among the tuples. Informally, how we can define this is the referential integrity constraint states that a tuple in one relation that refers to another relation must refer to an existing tuple in that relation. If I am referring any other table means that value must be there in that table, okay, in that relation. Now, here in the referential integrity constraint, we will use one more term, that is foreign key. You have seen super key, key, candidate, primary and all. Now, with respect to referential integrity, we have a concept called foreign key. Okay, so the condition for a foreign key, it specifies a referential integrity constraint between two relation schemas R1 and R2. Okay, this is like a condition for a foreign key which specifies what is the referential integrity constraint between two different relation schemas. Okay, a set of attributes foreign key in the relation schema R1. So here R1 and R2 are two different relation schemas. Okay, two different relational schemas. So foreign key in relation schema R1 is a foreign key of R1 that references relation R2, okay, that references relation R2 if it satisfies the following conditions. Now, what are the conditions? The attributes in Fk have the same domains as the primary key attributes of R2. Okay, the attributes Fk are said to reference or refer to the relation R2. Then the value of Fk in tuple T1 of the current state of R1 either occurs as a value of Pk, that means primary key, for some tuple T2 in the current state of R2, or it can be a null value. Okay, and here it says T1 of Fk must be equal to T2 of primary key. T1 and T2 are what? T1 is tuple in relation R1 and T2 is the tuple in relational state R2. Two different tables or two different relational schemas. Okay, and then when we have a foreign key, then R1 is called the referencing relation, R2 is the referenced relation. R1 is called referencing relation and R2 is called referenced relation. I'll give you the example, then you will understand this concept. Here I have an employee table where I'm storing, along with the employee information, I'm storing in which department he is working. Okay, so I'm storing the department number. Now this department information will be stored separately in the relational schema department. So employee and department, these are the two different relational schemas, and I am defining the foreign key in the employee table or employee relation. Now here when I say employee is working on a particular department, so that department should be there in the department table. Okay, so here T1 of employee, the tuple T1 of employee, in that foreign key is department number, so it is 1, and that must be present in department relation. Okay, so it says, see here, T1 of Fk must be equal to T2 of primary key. So here this is the referenced table, department is called referenced table and employee is called referencing table. So in the referencing table you will be having the foreign key, and in the referenced table that must be a primary key of that table. When I say referential integrity means, see here, whatever department we enter, department number we enter in this employee table, so it should be present in the department, correct? If that department exists, then only I can allow or I can insert the value of employee information, or I'll assign employee to that department, right? I can hire employees for that department. So suppose if I write 3 here, such department does not exist. So how I can input the values like this? It's not valid, right? So consistency we have to maintain here. That's why we put referential integrity constraints. If two tables or the relations are related, then you have to maintain the consistency of the data. I cannot enter an employee information for the department which does not exist. That's why I cannot put 3. But I can specify null over there. Okay, either I have to take 1 or 2 because these two departments are existing in the department table, or I can put null value in this. But I cannot put other than 1 or 2 or null. Like I cannot put 3, 4, 5 like that because those departments are not there in the department relation. Okay. Now the next is update operations and dealing with constraint violations. Like when you perform data manipulation, then how these constraints can be violated, or what happens when we do data manipulation. Okay, the operations of the relational model can be categorized into retrievers and update. Now there are 3 basic update operations: insert, delete and modify. Modify means you are modifying some content in the database. Now in case of insert operation, it provides a list of attribute values for a new tuple that is to be inserted into a relation R. You are giving or you are assigning some values to the attributes and you are inserting that into a relation schema. Okay, relation. Now, insert can violate any of the four types of constraints. We have seen domain constraint, entity integrity, key constraint, and then referential integrity violation. Referential integrity. So all these constraints can be violated during insert operation. So if it violates the constraints, then if it violates these constraints, then one possible way is you need to reject the attempt of insertion, or you can change the value. Okay, again you change the value and try to insert the new tuple into the relation. Now how domain constraint can be violated? Suppose you have specified 3 digits for employee ID and you are giving 4 digits. Then domain constraint is violated. Entity integrity violation, what it says, a key of it should not be null, right? So here what happens, suppose you are giving null value for that primary key, then it will say entity integrity violated. Then key constraint violation, if you are giving the same value for the new tuple, that means primary key is repeating, then key constraint violation will happen. Then referential integrity violation, as I have shown, if you are giving the department number which does not exist, okay, in that case referential integrity constraint is violated. Okay, so these are the different insert operations where it will violate the constraints, the schema based constraints. Now here you can see this example for each one. Here employee ID is defined as integer type with 3 digits. The size of this attribute value is 3. Okay, and here what we are doing, we are giving SSI. SSI is not a number, correct? SSI is not a number, so it violates the domain constraint. Then the next is, if I give 112 for employee ID, you assume here employee ID is the key. Okay, if I give 112, 112 is already there. Okay, primary key should not be identical, it should be distinct. So it violates the key constraint. Then we are giving null value. When I say for employee ID, if I give null, means it violates entity integrity constraint. And finally, in the referential integrity constraint, with respect to referential integrity, see here I am inserting the value as 3 for the department number, but 3 does not exist here. So it will violate the referential integrity constraint. Then delete operation. When you delete, then what happens, what all the constraints it will violate. So it will violate the referential integrity constraint. Okay, so a tuple referring to the deleted one exists. That's why it will violate the referential integrity constraint. So what we can do here, either we can reject the deletion or we can attempt to cascade the operation or the process, or you have to modify the foreign key attribute. Okay, we'll see that with the example. So in this example, the first 2 tuples in employee are referring department number 1, that means tuple 1 of department relation. Suppose if I delete the department 1 from this relation. Okay, if I delete the first tuple of department. Now what happens to these two, because they are referring this department, right? If I close that department in the company, then where the employees will go? What happens to those employees? So either you have to remove all these employees, okay, either you have to remove all these employees, or you can, or one possibility is that you cannot delete the department as such if it is referred by some other table. You just compare with the real-time example. Okay, you have two departments, 1 and 2, and in department 1 I have 10 employees working. Okay, if I try to close the department 1, then these 10 employees, where they will be assigned or where they will go? So when you are deleting any department or when you are closing any department, first you have to see, okay, if there are any employees working, then I cannot close the department. That is one possibility. You reject the deletion. Okay, that is the first thing. Reject the deletion. Okay, and another thing is, if you are closing the department, what do you have to do? First, you have to remove all 10 employees from the company. Okay, you have to make like no employees there in the department, then only you can close the department. Okay, that is the propagation, cascade. Attempt to cascade by deleting any referencing tuples. That means first you delete these two from the employee and then delete the tuple 1 in department table. That is second case. And third one, you can modify the foreign attribute value. Okay, either you can put null or you can modify to the existing department or existing value. Here, for example, if I delete or if I close the department 1 means I will move these 10 employees to department 2. I'll update here in the employee table. I'll change this employee department number to 2. Okay, department number 2. Or I will put null value. Instead of 1, just put null value. So it is not referring any of the tuple in the relation department. Okay, so the first possibility is you reject the deletion. The second possibility is first you delete the employees from this table and then delete the department information, department 1. Okay, that is cascading delete. Okay, and then the next is you can modify the value in the referencing relation. This is the referencing relation, right? So in this referencing relation, you change the depart foreign key. Either you modify with the existing one like 2, or you can place null value. Okay, so these are the actions performed during the delete operation. So if there is any foreign key is there, then you have to see these different ways. Now the update operation, update means you are modifying the content in the table or the relation. So when you update, so what are the constraints can be violated? Say domain can also be violated because suppose you enter the value which is not satisfying the domain constraint, or key constraint, entity integrity, and even the referential integrity. So all these 4 constraints can be violated during update operation. Okay, so key constraint violation, primary key is changed so as to become same as another tuple. Okay, and referential integrity violation, so if you change the foreign key and that value does not exist in the reference table, then this constraint will be violated. Or if you change the primary key of the reference table, then also it will violate the referential integrity. So here is the example, like whatever we have seen for the insert operation, the same thing applies over here. Like for employee ID, I am giving SSI, so it violates the domain constraint. And if I give 112, the same value if I give for Govind, here I am not inserting, I am updating the values, I am changing the content stored in the table. Okay, so instead of 111, if I put SSI, then it will change it will violate the domain constraint. And for the Govind, again, if I give 112, 112 is already there, then it will violate the key constraint. Then if I put null value for Govind, then again it will violate the entity integrity. Now, what about the referential integrity? As I said, if the foreign key is changed, if the foreign key is updated or modified, and that foreign key does not exist in the reference table. So here 3 is not existing in the department table. That's why here it violates the referential integrity constraint. And suppose if I change for the second tuple for the IT department, if I change the department number to 4. Okay, if I change the department number of IT department, here I have an employee working in this department. Already I have inserted the value as 2. Now how these people will get to know that department number has been changed? Here it is 2 and here I am updating it to 4. Okay, in that case, again it will violate the referential integrity constraint, because if it is made as 4 means this 2 will not be exist, right? That's why I cannot modify this. If I want to modify the primary key of reference table, then again I have to see is there any tuple referencing this, and first you change this to null and modify this and again update this. Okay, like cascaded update you can do whenever we are changing this value. So after changing it should be updated. Okay, so like that we can do. So you have to make this as null first and then it will be updated with 4. Otherwise it is not possible, it will violate the referential integrity constraint. I cannot change this primary key of the reference table because some tuples in another table is referencing this. Okay, so these are the different data manipulation operations and what all the constraints violated during these data manipulation operations and how you will handle this. So these topics I have covered, and then the last topic in this chapter is transaction. Okay, so a database application program, it will typically it runs a series of transactions. Whenever we say database application program and it uses the database or the relational database, then it runs a series of transactions. Now what is mean by transaction? Transaction means like you are reading some data from the database or you are performing some manipulation like insertion, deletion or updation. Okay, so retrieval and the data manipulation operations, which involves which involves the accessing of data stored in the database. Okay, so these are called transactions, like basic retrieval and data manipulation operations. Now these transactions must leave the database in a consistent state. So whenever you do insertion, deletion or updates, like in the database you have several schemas, right, relational schemas, and you have seen like how these schemas are related using foreign keys, right? So whenever you perform transaction, then it should maintain the consistency in the database. Okay, the consistency of database must be maintained. That is the very important thing when you perform the transaction, because a single transaction means it can have either only one a statement you are executing, maybe one query you are executing, or you may have a number of retrieval operations which reads from the database and the update operations. See, when I say you are checking your balance, okay, you are checking your balance, then what happens? It has to read the database, the bank account database, and it has to fetch the information, correct? And if you are performing the withdraw operation, then what happens? How many different operations you're performing on that when you do withdraw? So first it will check, first it will locate, okay, this is your account number, what is the balance? First it has to check whether amount is greater than that balance, that they have to check, right? So first you will retrieve the balance information. Then okay, if it is having more than whatever you have entered, then uh, you will withdraw the money or you'll get the money, and then it has to be updated again. So write operation or the insert operation you have to perform, or update operations you have to perform on the database, right? So it can be a single retrieval operation, or it can have many number of retrieval and the manipulating operations. Now, usually in online transaction processing, it will execute several different transactions in a second. Okay, so per second it will execute several transactions in the online transaction processing. So this ends your first chapter of module 2. We'll see the next concept, like how you will map the how you will map the relation to a ER to relational model. Okay, so that we'll see mapping of ER model to relational schema, then SQL, the basic operations and all that we'll see in the next sessions, upcoming sessions. So thank you.